We've all been there, you know, starting a new job or a new routine, and you go full throttle. You set a new alarm that's early in the morning, so you got to be up at 6. And for the first couple of weeks, you know, you spring out of bed with this excitement at whatever's new, and you get to it. Perfect. But that doesn't last forever. Next thing you know, you got something like this, where the alarms are starting to stack up every 5 minutes because you keep hitting that snooze button. And the next thing you know, you've ingrained that, and oh shit, I've woken up too late, I've missed whatever it was I was meant to do. If that's your job, then you're going to be in trouble, and if it's just your routine, well, it's not just your routine. If you keep letting this slip, it's going to get in the way of the things that you want to achieve. And then you go and binge watch morning routines of people more productive than you and wonder how they just spring out of bed with all the excitement for the day that you wish you had. Problem being with a lot of these videos is that to stand out, what they do is they just straight up lie and give you terrible advice. So in this video, I'm going to cover why having so many alarms is killing your productivity, how to make waking up actually effortless, and the foundational alarm that makes everything else just work. Todd Howard would be proud. So let's jump right into it. Well, the best way to show this is when I was watching things like YouTube perfect productivity morning routine. I was at university and I fell for the fad. So I'd wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning, and 6 till 7 I would run. This was an alarm I set at 6, and then I had another alarm at 7 that was basically the next task in the list. And that was when I'd make breakfast, you know, have some ridiculous amount of protein. I think I was having full Englishes at the time every morning, which hopefully hasn't done too much damage to my heart. Okay, so then after that, I'd do washing up, do just any chores that needed doing, cleaning, which again was an alarm at 7:30 that reminded me, okay, do your chores now. And then because I was the jack of all fads, I would then spend literally an hour meditating. I had headspace to build up from initially. I think it starts with 10 minutes, and then you can start manually upping how long they last. And yeah, this is what my morning looked like. And from 6 to 9, this was what every day looked like. And it was completely unreliable. There was one thing in here which was valuable but did not need to be that long. And what happened was I just got the hang of, well, you know what, I don't want to do the chores right now. I'll just hit stop. And do I really want to sit here for an hour? Like, motivating sitting down for an hour is near impossible. So I just sack off the alarm. And then that just bled into the other parts of my life that I was using alarms to try and keep on top of things. Well, I just built this habit of the second I saw it, just hit stop. You might even have that where if you're the kind of person that hits stop on your wake up alarm, that you manage to actually wake up an hour later than your alarm, and you think, God, I don't even remember the alarm going off, because you just subconsciously, almost like a sleepwalker, hit the stop button. Well, what's the point in having all these alarms? Your productive routine just isn't going to be productive. So should we throw away alarms? No. The problem here is that, like I just said, because we have so many alarms, and if you're doing the stacking like we showed earlier, where you have one every 5 minutes to make sure that you wake up, this is where we're building those anti-patterns. Another problem with this routine is it is repetitive. Your brain is always looking for novelty. And if you have the same thing show up at the same time every single day, it just blends in, it blurs into the day. It's because nothing's changing, nothing's new. So why would your brain pay attention to it? It's used to it. It's like if you always take the same route to work. The first few times that you take that route, it feels like it takes a while, it's memorable, you're looking around, you're noticing things, but the 20th time that you go to work, you probably just leave your front door and appear at your job, because your brain has just, is so reliably the same, but your brain just almost switches off in a way. So we just spoke about the bad habit, which is hitting stop. Don't want to be doing that. So how do we get around this? Well, realistically, alarms shouldn't be thrown away. They are useful. That noise that I'm not going to play, but the one that will give you a heart attack, is good for getting your attention at certain times. It's just if we have them too regularly, then they start losing their meaning. So in this video, I'm going to suggest 2 alarms that avoid these problems and give you all of the benefits. And I'll give my reasoning. It's science-based. It's something that I've been refining over the past 7 years when I first started getting interested in this kind of stuff, and it works well. It's made me productive. Right, so problem number 1, waking up. A lot of people struggle with this, and it doesn't have to be that way. Your morning alarm is the most important alarm that you have. And what we're going to do is we're going to separate your day out into 2 sections, work and leisure. How long each of these need to be for you, I don't care. I'm going to give some minimums, but there's good literature on not breaking up your workday with leisure segments, because you have this latent anxiety of, oh, well, okay, once I get this thing done, I need to go back to work. Do you remember ever working a part-time job and you'd get those days where you didn't start work until midday and then you'd work late, and those wouldn't feel like nice days because that whole morning you're just thinking about the fact that you have to go to work later? Well, that's normal, perfectly normal. And it's why we're splitting up the day like this. So for me, the day starts at 6 a.m. and pretty much what I include work as is things that aren't relaxing. It doesn't mean they have to be boring, per se. First of all, I enjoy my job as a software engineer. Secondly, the gym. I would put that into this bucket. Going shopping, doing chores around the house. All of those buckets of things fall under work. And it starts when I wake up. Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, that's not very exciting. I don't exactly want to jump out of bed in the morning and get straight to work. But actually, that feeling of jumping out of bed in the morning isn't really related about how excited you are to do the thing. It is in certain occasions. So if you think to times where you have woken up before your alarm in anticipation, maybe you've got a big day at work, or you're going on holiday, or something special's happening on a day, or you've got a chemical in your brain called cortisol, and it's basically the chemical that is responsible for stress, anxiety, but that doesn't have to be a bad thing, and it's especially not a bad thing in the morning. And what it does is, when you've got those concerns and thoughts, it peaks before you wake up and then it trails off, right? And what we want is that peak to be around where our alarm is, preferably a little bit before. Well, what are the things that influence this? Well, like I said, this anticipation is something that benefits it. But the problem is with relying on something like being excited for the next day is that you're not going to be excited for every day. You've got the whole hedonic treadmill where days just become days. The novelty wears off, like we were talking about earlier. The real driver for having this peak at the right time is what you do half an hour after your alarm. And what that thing is sunlight. And that's not sunlight through a window. That's not artificial sunlight, although you can buy special lights that emit most of the waves that the sun emits, but it's still not as good as just getting outside. What it does count as is overcast, so even if it's really cloudy outside, that's fine. But what it is you've got little cones on the underside of your eyes. They're only stimulated for this mechanism when you get low level sunlight, which is sunrise, so it has to be you can't be doing this at 11 a.m. It has to be near to sunrise. I'm not saying wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Maybe 6 is a good time to start, or 7. Just get outside, the first thing you do. And if you really want to put your eggs in your basket, couple that with protein, which I've stolen mercilessly from the 4-Hour Body. Tim Ferriss knew what he was talking about, which, if you're wondering what that looks like, 5 eggs, 150 grams of sausage if that's what you fancy, or if you're going for a real wild option, go for tuna. I don't know why they've suddenly switched to ounces from grams, but that's this website. And some light cardio. Look, you're getting outside. If you struggle to motivate just going for a walk, use it as your excuse to do some cardio, so then at least you're getting in better shape. This is going to have the opposite effect of what we were talking about at the beginning here, where you have those first 2 weeks where you're super motivated and then afterwards it falls off. Instead, this is going to be really hard to start the habit, but then it'll get easier as time goes on, because guess what? This system over here is going to start kicking in, and your circadian rhythm is going to take over, and it's going to be like, holy shit, I normally see the sunlight in half an hour. Big cortisol hit. That's what wakes you up, and it wakes you up alert. It doesn't wake you up feeling groggy. Now, if you are feeling groggy, that could be a different point. It could be that you're sleep deprived. Okay, so what's this foundational alarm that I was saying about that makes everything just work? Well, what we've just done is we've absolutely sacked off all of our things that we were doing before. And I'm going to assume that, okay, maybe you didn't have an alarm every hour for functional things, but you probably do have routines and habits that you want to keep and enforce. Well, that's what this little division here is for. Alarm 2. For me, this is 8:30 p.m, which I'm not saying that you have to work every hour, but I think if you actually tally up all of the work-related tasks that you do, whether it's exercise, going to the shops, doing the washing up, doing the laundry, it stacks up quite massively. And if you actually collect those things and do them first, then you get into basically the relaxation phase. Why do we have a set section for relaxation? Well, the problem with this whole grind set culture is that it builds up cumulative mental fatigue, and that expresses in different ways. Some people experience burnout, some people get high blood pressure and can just push the emotions down, and then that's when you have a heart attack 40 years later. You need more than an hour. So minimum an hour of relaxation time. And I don't care what it looks like, whether it's playing video games, watching TV, reading a book, learning an instrument, whatever it is. But try and give yourself a time where you don't have that nagging feeling of, oh, I need to do something afterwards. No, you're at the end of the day, you've got whatever you want. And God, if you want that to be 3 hours, treat yourself. I don't care, I'm not your dad. And if you want the secret tip for this, what we're talking about here basically is bringing our nervous system's alertness down. The best way you can do this is you in touch with somebody that you're attracted to. So if you've got a partner, cuddling, just sitting together, watching TV, that kind of stuff. Now, I'm not saying schedule in your calendar half an hour of laying on the couch with your girlfriend. But I mean, it might help your relationships. You might be sat there thinking, oh, look, how come you're suddenly so intimate? It's nice to see this side of you. And you say, no, it's not a side to me. It's just my protocol for min-maxing the ratio of work to leisure time. She'll love that. But okay, so you're about to move into this leisure time. You do still have like that nagging thought of, God, I still need to get that thing done. I didn't have time to run to the shops and buy bin bags. My examples show how boring my life is. Well, I want you to replace all of those trash alarms that you had before, or however you were originally planning your habits, with a to-do list and a calendar. Now, I've made a separate video on that, which I'll link at the end, but essentially what this time is for is all of those thoughts that you have from the day that are stressing you out. I want you to just put into a to-do list, and if you have time for any of them tomorrow, schedule them in now, just at 8:30. So then when you get into your leisure time, all of the things that you were worried about, well, they're recorded, they're logged. And at some point, you've got a set time where you're going to prioritize them the following day. It's no longer a problem. You don't have to think about it. And the last thing I want to see, which makes sure that this cycle doesn't break, is this whole thing of no screens before going to bed. I know it sounds like something that your parents would tell you, but blue light is a thing, and you have chemicals in your brain that are fundamental to you getting good quality sleep. And if you are slamming caffeine and you're looking at screens, you're basically doing everything you can to make sure you have a bad night. And no matter how strong your cortisol spike is the following morning, because you've got a good wake up protocol of, okay, I get up and within half an hour I've got my sunlight, my protein and my light cardio. If you don't get enough quality sleep, you are going to feel like shit when you woke up. I haven't posted a video in about 2 weeks, and it was because I was essentially getting burnout, and I was going through the list of things that it could possibly be, and I actually get quite a lot of sleep, but I've been upping my training a fair amount, and I've been losing weight quite aggressively. And the thing that I changed that made the biggest difference is that I went from going to bed at 10 o'clock at night to going to bed at 9:30. And all of a sudden, I've gone from not wanting to wake up in the morning and hating life to literally being excited, jumping out of bed, waking up before my alarm again. I didn't change anything. I was still cycling to work, so I'd get my sunlight within half an hour of waking. I just needed an extra half hour of sleep, and now I'm so much more focused. I've got all the energy that I needed, and it was literally just improving my sleep. If you're looking for like a proper rundown of sleep protocols, I've got a video coming up on that. So hit subscribe and you'll see that when I post it. And with this system of just 2 alarms, wake up, work, unload all of your problems and the things that you need to do, relax for an hour, you're putting yourself in a position where if you really want to start burning the candle and working a lot of hours, you've kind of got a minimum effective dose of, okay, wind down, make sure that I'm not going to build up this cumulative fatigue, the same way that if you're in the gym and you start working out way too much and you don't give yourself enough time to recover, well, instead of being able to train properly for 4 months, you'll train really, really hard for 1 month and then miss out on 3 months of gains. You've just nuked your central nervous system. So this is the system I use. It allows me to do a lot and I get a lot done. Now, this is all quite generic advice. If you want actual personalized advice, or just to do with this, or a career in software engineering, or fitness for software engineers, I have a link in the description where you can book me in for a one-to-one. I only have a couple of slots a week, so if you'd like to sign up for that, get it soon, because I'm about to move how you can sign up for it. Otherwise, if you want to see about a video where I actually talk about utilizing a to-do list with a calendar that you are, so that you have novel notifications that if you're planning them the next day, obviously they're going to show up. It's going to be something new every time you see it. It's like, oh, I never get alarm at midday on my lunch break to remember to buy that thing on Amazon I've been putting off. then you can click this video here and I'll talk you through that. Hopefully that video helps. Cheers.